welcome to Chaotic Riffs TV, and our special guest today is Sammy Lee Bendheim, the drummer from Red Rain. Excuse me, right on the tip of my tongue. Having a little technical difficulties, but we got it going now. So let's tell the folks, Sammy, are you an original member of the band, and how long has the band been together?
So I am an original member of the band. I started the band with our lead singer, Carlton McMichael, excuse me. We were in a band prior to Red Rain that played cover tunes and original tunes. That kind of went a separate way. And then Bubba and I just decided to move on with all originals. We don't do any cover tunes.
Okay.
And we started out as an all original band. Not sure we thought we'd make it to where we are today, but it's been a great ride.
Well, you know, that's a similar story that most bands have. I mean, let's be honest, when most bands start out, that's how you make your money, and that's how you get into clubs, is playing cover songs that everybody's heard of, you know. But of course, the ultimate goal is to do your own original music. So
Right.
so let's talk about Red Rain now. I interviewed you once previously before. I don't know if you remember, for Chaotic Riffs magazine. It was an old school type of interview. We've just started doing these Zoom interviews just this year in 2023. They've been a lot of fun. So It's great to see you. You seem to be very involved in the band, you know, a little more than typical drummer, if you know what I mean. So are you involved with the writing as well?
So the way the band works is I'm not involved in much of the writing.
Yeah.
And I don't sing. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
What I am involved in, though, is I do most of the business work for the band.
Yeah.
So really, it started out, we had a lot of help from some really close friends. Chris and Neely from the Classic Metal Show have been really
great.
Been really instrumental in getting us off the ground. And through my connections with Neely and Chris is how we've been able to find the people that we needed, sort of the team, as you would say. And so I do all that work. I do the business work for the band. The guys, Bubba does 90% of the writing, and Stevie and Larry, throw in their ideas and they help write as well. Writing is not my forte.
It really is a team effort. And, you know, I've been listening to those guys on the Classic Metal Show, like a lot of people, for years. And seems like they just get better. And I love the fact that somebody I recently had on my This Is Metal show is Eric Ferentinos. And of course, people know he's the guitar player from Stephen Pearcy's band, and he's he does a show now with Chris Aiken. And I love it. And what people don't know is he's this huge kind of personality. I had him on the show, and he's really quite the character. So I love to see, besides getting out there and playing the guitar and doing this thing with Stephen Pearcy, he gets a chance to kind of do that thing with Chris Aiken and show a little more of who he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's I tell you, Neely and Chris are really good about, helping bands like us, when they find the band that they'd like to help. But they've been really instrumental. And then they helped us find our publicist, which was Chip Ruggieri of Chipster PR, and that's really where the band took off. And I've got a really good, really strong relationship with Chip. But everybody in the band has their the way that they do things, and they have their kind of job, which makes it good. We get along so well, and everybody knows their role in the band that it's I let them do the writing, they let me do the business stuff, and it's really worked out so far.
Yeah, I will tell you, you got a lot of great people working with you guys behind the scenes, and that right away immediately kind of made me kind of take notice of you guys and say, oh well, these guys should kind of be taken serious. I mean, even just down to the publicist. I've been working with your publicist, Chip, all the way back from when I first started doing these interviews back in 2007. He's given me a lot of great interviews over the years. And he's worked. What's interesting about Chip is, first of all, for a guy like him, of his caliber, to be working with a band like Red Rain, it speaks volumes, because he typically works with a lot of the great veteran artists. He's worked with everybody from Quiet Riot and Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Michael Schenker, a lot of these heavyweights, legendary heavyweights. And so the fact that people like this are getting involved with Red Rain and work with you guys behind the scene, I think that's why you're getting a lot of PR. A lot of people are starting to check the band, and that's a great thing.
Well, it's a funny story, and if you allow me a second, I'll tell you the story.
Sure.
Yes, and everything you just said, by the way, absolutely 100% true. We played before we hooked up with Chip, we played a show. We're from the Virginia area, so we're in Richmond, Virginia, and we played a show with Salava at a venue here, and it was a Thursday night. I remember it very well. It was a
Wow.
Thursday night, and the turnout was not very well. And you know, we played a couple shows here in town, and I just was like, we got to do better than this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was talking where we used to rehearse was a building in Richmond where a lot of bands rehearsed. We actually rehearsed right beside Lamb of God.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
rehearsing this place. But the guy that ran the building and ran the band rent, excuse me, was a musician himself in a band, and we were just talking one day, and he said, you know, and he was in a band that you know, had a minor label behind them,
Sure,
and
sure.
he's a little older than me. And he said, you know, Sammy, the thing that you're doing is you got to get somebody to do the talking for the band. You can't do it for yourself. And we just kicked around some ideas, and I came home that night and I was like, you know, the first thing I got to find maybe is a publicist.
Sure, sure.
I don't know why publicist. I didn't look for band management. I
Sure,
didn't
sure.
look for, you know, but I looked for a publicist, and I saw Chip's name
Yeah.
and I wrote him. And then that turned into a funny story, which again, I hate to keep pushing, but like Neely helped me facilitate that. But we finally got to Chip, and Chip really liked one of the songs we did, which came out on our first EP, which was the song "Not That Way," and that's really where it started. And we developed a you know, a business relationship, and I would say we've developed a really good friendship now as well.
You know, it's very important that you've got kind of that that attitude, Sammy, of telling the story, and also you're obviously a guy that really believes in giving credit where credit is due. You're very appreciative of these people that apparently are helping you guys behind the
Absolutely.
scenes. And I will say this: as great as all those people are, and as much as they've helped you, there's also something to be said that you had all these people involved behind the scenes, but there was no talent in the band, it wouldn't be much of a story. So there is
That's
that
true.
too. And I think the fact that you have the previous EP, you have a new album coming out. It's a full length album.
It's a full length album. Yeah.
Okay, next logical step. And
Yeah.
see, for last couple of years, this is one of those bands that people kind of might not know who you guys are. Red Rain, oh yeah, I've heard of them. I heard of them. Or I heard of the last EP. I'm going to check out the new album. So there's that. And I think the more PR you guys do, and the more you get out there and start playing live, and more people. In fact, let's hear another story I'm interested in hearing. How did you get George Lynch to play on the title track, which is the current single and video?
So again, you know, it all goes. I have
Hey,
a
give
tendency.
credit where credit's due, my friend,
Well,
right?
I am, and I have a tendency of repeating myself, so I
That's all
apologize.
right.
But again, it came back from the classic metal show. So I'll give you a little background story. We were sort of flying pretty high before COVID. We were on tour with Tesla.
Okay.
We actually started a show with Y&T, which I'm a big fan of Dave Manichetti,
Sure, sure.
the band. But we played a show with Y&T, and then drove down to Charleston, South Carolina to pick up on the Tesla tour. And then COVID hit. And so, you know, and it crushed everybody. Listen, we're a
Yeah,
small band, but it crushed everybody in every
sure.
industry, actors, so on. And it was a time to reflect, because we really hadn't put out a lot of music
Yeah,
in the 4 to 5 years prior, because we're trying to build through playing live shows.
yeah,
So as time went on, you know, the publicity stopped and nobody was doing anything. And so we were writing and writing. And I said, you know, when we come back, I got to make a splash. I got to do something.
yeah, yeah.
And you know, no, I'm going to take a little credit on this one. The guys in the band, I hope, will understand this. They know the whole story, but I was sitting thinking one night, what can I do? Do I get a guest singer? Do I
Yeah,
get a guest guitarist? So on and so on, drummer, so
yeah,
on. And so I had this idea, because I knew, again, Neely at the
yeah,
Classic Metal Show is very, very good friends with the Dokken Camp, really close.
yeah,
And I called him one night, and we asked, and Neely and I have been friends for 20 years, and I don't like asking for favors, like, hey,
sure.
could you call so? But we started talking, and I said to him, I said, I've got to ask you a favor, and if you say no, I certainly understand. And the minute I got it in my mouth, he's like, done. It's done. You know, don't worry, I'll get it taken care of. And so to make a longer story short, he got in touch with George and asked George if he'd do it, and George said yes, and that's how we got him on.
And
Now
so,
I did. Now the funny part is, I didn't. Not only did I not tell the band, I didn't tell the band basically till we got into pre-production that this was going to happen. I didn't tell Chip either
wow.
until it was 1000% confirmed, because Neely was, Neely and I were talking, and Neely kept saying, well, I'm going to see him this weekend. Oh, I didn't get to see him this week. It'll be next week. I'm like, I'm not saying anything until it's confirmed.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's how it happened. And then, we did the track. We sent it to him, and he cut his track, which is unbelievable.
Well, you almost, I mean, there's no way you're not going to be going on the classic metal show, and why wouldn't they have you on? I mean, you guys are a super talented band, but that's part of their story. That's part of their story, that they helped you guys, and that's got to make them feel great,
They again, we joke around about it, but they were really instrumental to get us where we are. And so you're right. I do like to give credit, because, it's like anything else in life, if you don't ask for help, or you don't ask some, like, hey, what do you think about this or that? I mean, I'm always talking to people about certain things, about what we can and can't do. You could be the best band in the world, but if you don't have somebody who gives you that break or help, then
Well, I'll give you a great example. Last time I interviewed you, it was over the phone, old school way. We recorded it, and I put up a slideshow. And here's the thing, Sammy. I've been wanting to do these video type interviews, but I'm not really tech savvy. And it was actually, and again, I give credit where credit is. This friend of mine, Jason Lee Beckwith, he plays drums in a Kiss tribute band, Kiss Alive, out here. And I've done a lot of interviews with him over years about what he does. And he told me, why don't you do these Zoom interviews? He goes, I said, well, I don't really know how. Because I had a couple of bad experiences doing during COVID at work. And he said, no, let's do a practice run. I'll help you. I'll teach you how to do it. And I'm so glad I did, And again, it's different from what I've been doing, but it's so much fun. And what's funny is each of these Zoom interviews, even the one I'm doing with you today, it's got a personality of its own. I mean, I've done some with, I did one recently with the band Hurricane, had the whole band on, and everybody kind of got to take part. That was fun. I can't really explain it, but each kind of one of these interviews has its own personality, and it's been a lot of fun. And again, if maybe this friend hadn't pushed me, maybe if I hadn't taken the time to educate, and I thought, what, this wasn't so hard. Why didn't I do it before?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I mean, you need that. You need somebody to help you along, and it's great. The one thing is, I don't have that kind of ego where I climb the mountain myself. Or not even myself, with the guys in the band. I mean, it's just
Plus, who knows? Somebody watching this, once they post, maybe an up and coming band, like, hey, how did we get to that level? How could we do like them? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the best advice I can give somebody is what I was told. Again, if you're going to a bar level to try to jump the other level, you got to get somebody to do the talking for you. Find people in the industry that can help you. That's what we did.
And you seem to be the guy who does the talking. You do most of the PR. Do you other guys just choose not to do it, or do you was it kind of falling on you, or do you just like to do it?
Well, no, actually, so that's something that Chip and I have worked out. So generally, since I'm assuming that I do most of the business, it's better that I do it and have, I don't know. That's just something Chip and I worked out.
It makes sense. I mean, you kind of know what to say, what not to say, maybe what's the official statement going out.
The guys in the band are really good. Like I know Bubba's got an interview tomorrow night with somebody else, and Stevie's had a couple interviews. I'm a little. The funny thing about me though is I like to tell you what's upcoming, but I like to keep some of it back, because I
even when you just told me today that, hey, I kept the fact that we were having George Lynch on the album from other guys until it happened.
Right, because the funny thing is you're looking for that, not really shock expression, but you want people to be, you want the anticipation. I don't like giving away, like, hey, you want to hear this song or not? I want to wait until it marinates
Yeah,
and like you start promoting and promoting. People like, hey, when are we going to hear this? Oh, you'll hear it. You'll hear it maybe
yeah,
next week. We'll hear it. Okay. And I know after a while you can't keep teasing people,
sure.
but I think if you give it away, then it's just it's not like a big production. I don't know. That's maybe the old school in me, but that's
Well,
just
yeah, but let's talk about old school because see, that's the thing. A lot of bands, I mean, you guys are kind of have to because you're kind of a new up and coming band, but there's a lot of bands that maybe after 2, 3 hours, why bother putting out new music? Nobody's
right.
buying CDs. We'll just live on our catalog of music. So the fact that many bands going out there and creating new music, I dig that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm an old school guy too. I love to, like I love to have a physical, product in my hand, look at the cover and
I
see
do
who played
too.
on the album. That's something that I think kids are missing these days. I talked to somebody recently. Oh, I don't even buy albums anymore. I just buy whatever the latest single is online for 99 cents,
Right.
and
Right.
and they're just missing that experience.
Well, the good thing is albums are coming back. I
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
I have a 14-year-old daughter, and usually once a month we go to a record store, and she's bought anything from I don't know the last album.
yeah,
Oh, but we bought a Fleetwood Mac album. She
yeah.
bought Pet Sound,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
one
I
of the
mean, it,
greatest
it is
albums.
getting
The
a little
Beatles.
better because for years I just ordered off of Amazon. I still typically do that because that's the easiest place to find everything. But
Yeah,
what's funny is I don't know where you're from, but I live in Los Angeles, the heart of the city, and you really like there's because I live in Long Beach, California, about an hour away from Hollywood, so like a real decent record store if I want to go is like 45 minutes away from where I live. Unless I'm going
really.
to go down the street to Target and buy the Beach Boys' greatest hits, or
Right, right, right.
but I already got that one. Yeah,
I think it's making a comeback to a point. Again, my thought process is there's so much good music out there, and I think there are a lot of younger people who are looking for good music. I mean, you've seen Facebook where you see 15-year-old kids playing Van Halen, or you see
sure, sure.
15-year-old kids. I mean, it's there.
They
You
weren't even
know,
alive. Yeah,
I mean, I really think that rock could really be back if it was promoted better. But hey, I can't make that decision.
and there's a handful of bands that I think are doing it. One that comes to mind is the Dead Daisies, and they just put out like a greatest hits album. First decade of their career and
Yeah,
for 10 years. And what's interesting about the Dead Daisies, if you at all followed them, is they've had guys come in and out of the band and ever revolving door, even the singers, but it doesn't seem to affect the success of the band.
no, it's
Yeah.
good music.
Sure, sure.
It really
Yeah,
is. It's hard to deny a good song.
sure, sure. Yeah,
So I've always said that. People would always say to us, well, you got that 80s sound, or it's like you're stuck in the 80s. And I've said this in every interview I am. I don't understand that saying because a good song transcends time. I
sure,
mean,
sure.
people like what another band my daughter just loves is the Beatles. I mean, so if am I are we stuck in the 60s because we love the Beatles? No, they're great
I think
songs.
it's another case of like you're saying, good music is just good music. It's undeniable. Like I typically listen to hard rock and metal, but you know what? I do listen to the Beatles. I do listen to um, the Eagles and Tom Petty. Why? They're great written songs. I mean,
Yep.
these are songs been played on the radio for 40, 50 years. I mean, even the Rolling Stones, they're a little bit of everything. They're hard rock,
The
they're
blues.
pop,
Yeah,
they're blues, they're whatever you want it to be. But and they've been doing it, even longer. So that stuff it's been played on the radio at least 40, 50 years. There's a reason for it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Because it's great music. I mean, that's the thing. Again, I'm like you. What's funny is I've gotten older. I mean, in all the years I grew up, I was a little hard headed.
yeah,
So every day, probably from my 8th grade to my senior year, all I listened to was Van Halen. I'm a big David Lee Roth Van Halen fan.
yeah, yeah.
Van Halen. It was Van Halen every day. And as I got older, and obviously Van Halen's still my band, but now it's funny. Even though I play hard rock and rock and roll, I'm really have been getting in lately to a little bit more Motown.
Interesting. Yeah,
And because you learn a lot about music. I watched this documentary about how Motown, was made,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it is so interesting how they wrote the songs and the beats, and I don't know. I love music documentaries. I try to watch as many as I can, but and now I'm watching one the San Francisco one on the MGM channel about, about the Mamas and the Papas and the Dead
Yeah.
and those bands. And so
Yeah, I just got a little brain fart, but I'll have to get the name to you later, but I'll message you later. But there's a movie that just came out this year about the guy from Casablanca Record, Neil Bogart, the guy who
okay,
discovered
yeah,
Kiss,
yeah.
and he also discovered like Donna Summer, the Village People.
Yep.
Real interesting movie. Real interesting. Like if you're all a music fan, it's a great look at what he did.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, that I think though, the longer you stay in music and you can really get a riff that people will like, I
And
think
I
you can
think if you
stay.
listen to different types of music, especially if you're a musician, it makes you a more rounded musician. A great example of that is James Lomenzo, the bass player from the current bass player from Megadeth. He
Yeah.
previously played in White Line. He's played with John Fogerty over years. A lot of people I heard asked him, "Hey, you're a metal guy. Why would you play with John Fogerty?" He's like, "You know what? First of all, why not? It's a good paying gig. If you
And
can
it's
do it,
John Fogerty,
if you can do it, why not?
right?
Yeah."
And it's John Fogerty from
Yeah, there's
CCR. I
that,
mean,
and then that's another one of those situations where even though he's coming from a metal band, could you imagine being up on stage with John Fogerty? I'm sure if John Fogerty needed a drummer and asked you, "Yeah, hey, I'm there,"
oh, I'd be
you
all
learn
over it.
those you learn those songs. How many people would be singing along?
It's funny. I actually met James Lomenzo. He played with David Lee Roth for a while,
Yeah. In the
and
early '90s. I
I
think he
yeah,
played with Ace Frehley too. Yeah.
yeah, he played on that Sammy Dave reunion tour. And they came around here, and a buddy of mine got backstage passes, and so we went back and
Yeah.
talked to him for a while. Really nice guy. But yeah, I mean, look at what was it? Jeff Pilson's playing with Foreigner. Doc.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
And
any
even
musician,
James
any
Lomenzo,
musician would do it. Don't
yeah,
let anybody
yeah.
tell you they wouldn't.
Yeah, and even James Lomenzo, I mean, I keep coming back to him because he's a great example. Like when he was in White Line, Vito and Mike were getting all the attention, but he's made a lot more money than any of those guys just because taking different gigs or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Interesting. So yeah.
you just never know when opportunities are going to come knocking. Now, before we wrap this up, Sammy, I'd like to hear a little bit about your influences. Like, who are the drummers that kind of were your drum gods or your heroes growing up?
So, again, Alex Van Halen
There
being
you go. Yeah,
number one, but I loved Keith Moon, obviously loved Bonham,
there you go.
Peart, Neil Peart.
Yeah.
I can't play like Neil Peart, but hey, you got to love him.
What's funny is I got a chance to interview Carmine Appice a couple of times, and that's interesting because he was friends with John Bonham. He told me, "Hey, I'm actually the guy that influenced John Bonham."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that now. No, and
Yeah.
Carmine Appice too, great, and his brother Vinny.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great drummers, and one of my favorite drummers today is Greg Bissonette.
From
Plays
David Lee
with
Roth. Yeah.
Ringo, but played with David Lee as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, there's so many, and it's so hard to name them all. And we'll get off, and I'll go, oh, I forgot to name this drummer, that
Yeah. Yeah.
drummer. I just like a lot of good, for me, drummers who have good sounds
Yeah.
too.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe it's
Big-
because you mentioned you're a diehard Van Halen fan, so I'm sure that has something to do with being an Alex fan. But I always felt that he was very underappreciated. I mean, he
Me
got his
too.
dues, but you didn't really see him on the drum magazine covers. Maybe that's partly because his brother got all the accolades.
Well, it's fun. Also, Tommy Aldridge. Forgot about
Yeah.
Tom. You can't forget about Tommy Aldridge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say that to everybody. Everybody's like, I'm a homer, because a home job because I like Alex Van Halen. But I mean, like, I always say to this, when Eruption came out on guitar,
Yeah.
people were blown away.
Sure.
Okay. Now they're not as blown away because it's now in tablature and you can read it. Okay. Same thing with Hot for Teacher. Nobody knew what the hell was going on in that beginning, right? And some of that stuff that he does is just unbelievable.
I mean, Hot for Teacher is a great example of what you're talking about because while Alex Van Halen doesn't get maybe the credit he should, I would say Hot for Teacher is the track. It's almost like the equivalent of his Moby Dick.
No,
The drums are all over that, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and so yeah, I mean, for me, he's my major influence,
Yeah.
and not only his drumming, but I don't have the drums that he has, but
Sure.
I see. I play double bass drums, but I play two pedals. I don't play single, double pedal.
Yeah.
The look, you got to have a look, and you got to
Sure.
have that. So yeah, he was a major influence in what I did.
And the last thing I got to ask you about is I think you guys are hooked up with a great record company, Deco Entertainment, which I'm sure Chip had something, folks at Chips Your PR hooked you guys up. But I not only have I got a lot of their artists that I've interviewed over the years, but I love Deco for the simple fact not only do they put out great product, but they really get behind the bands they work with and they promote the hell out of them.
They have been absolutely wonderful to work with. We had been in talks for a little while prior to the signing, but had a nice call with Bruce and Charlie over at Deco, and they were very supportive of what we were trying to do. Again, the one thing is, and if you don't mind me, allow me to go back to our producer as well, David Ivory, who we
Sure.
but the great thing about again, the people that we worked is like with David, I was really nervous because David had a pretty good lineage of who he's worked with. And you go in there and you're thinking, oh man, they're gonna do it their way. Yeah, I don't like this, I don't like that. Not with David. David took our ideas that we had, didn't really change it. He made it better. Didn't change the idea, didn't change the riffs. Maybe added a verse, a chorus, whatever, but didn't change the ideas that we had coming in. Deco, same way. They understand what we're about, what we want to do, and I'm sure every artist that's on Deco has the same thing, and they're very good about that. Really easy to work with.
Yeah. And you talk a little bit about your producer David. And it's interesting because a producer could be like a key ingredient to the success of a band or an album. I mean,
Yeah,
Bob Ezrin, one of my favorite producers. I mean, he's worked with everybody from Kiss, Alice Cooper, Deep Purple. But like, look at all those great Alice Cooper albums. He's much more of a producer. He was involved with the songwriting. He's actually
right.
like a member of the band. So he helped Alice like create all these great concepts, and he's still like producing his most recent album. So they're like a team, and it's interesting that a producer could get that involved and really affect the sound of a band or an album.
And it is. David, like I said, David was really good about that. You've heard both the EP, and then
Sure.
and yet I don't know if Chip has sent you
I haven't had it yet, but I just heard the one track so far. But
yeah.
once the album drops, I'd love to have you back, Sammy, and
Yeah.
further
And if
promote
you
this
want the other
opportunity.
guys, I'll bring the other guys too if you want.
That'd be fun too. In fact, you know what we might do next time is I mentioned I have this other shows for the same site that it's called This Is Metal, and we have a host. The co-host is Tom Collier, the band Held Hostage from New York. He's the
Okay.
guy who does it with me. You can look him up. Held Hostage, and it's a lot of fun because it's me and another guy, and we kind of bounce off of each other. And we've done, like I said, your label mates Hurricane. We had them on the show, and that'll be going. In fact, if you want to check that out, I'll send you the link once it posts next week, and
Yeah, sure.
goes up on. And their whole band took part. So yeah, we're up for doing stuff like that, and so we'll definitely have you back.
So what'd you think of the single?
I loved it, and I think the best compliment I can give you, not only is it kind of a rock and so I love the fact that it's interesting you were telling me other people say you guys are stuck in the 80s. Well, that's probably kind of your influence, but what I hear is like I'm surprised to hear that because to me you kind of sound like maybe some of your influences, but you got your own original thing. Doesn't sound like you're trying to clone anybody. So that's my take.
Right. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, listen, every band has an influence. I mean, we have our influences, but you're right. I mean, the other thing too is, when you come in with an idea, you're going to be playing like with the drums. I'll be playing, hey, hey, this would be pretty cool if I do this. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we're not writing 80s music. We're just writing what we like. And you're right.
Yeah.
And your influences creep in. But I
And what I
appreciate
was getting ready to say, I think the best compliment I can give you is after talking, I get why you'd want who wouldn't want George Lynch to play on their album, but I was
Right.
watching the video for the title track, and it's interesting. I'm thinking, man, I don't necessarily know that they needed George Lynch because these guys on the guitar that they got are pretty good. But
Yeah. Yeah.
again,
They
I can
are. They
see
are both of them.
you could get George Lynch on your album. That's an extra selling point. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, you need that impact. We thought that impact would be really.
And I think what you guys really need to do once you start touring more behind the album, maybe when you're able to kind of set it up, maybe have George come out and play on the song live. Make a rare guest appearance on stage with you guys.
I'd love that. I'd love that. I've been trying to figure a way to get that done, but we
I
haven't
mean,
found the logistics yet.
off the top of my head, I would say I know he lives in Arizona, so you guys are ever in Arizona area, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice, but right now the live shows right now have died down a little bit. We are kind of looking for sort of another booking agent right now, but also we're really pushing the album. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, we are dropping a new video tomorrow.
Wow, wow,
Yep.
okay.
So the next single is "Here I Am," and the video will be debuted tomorrow. It'll be on the Deco site, and then we'll spread it out. But it'll be
Well,
on.
what we'll do to help you further spread the word about that is once this gets posted, I'll post both the videos along with the interview so people can kind of get an idea of what you guys are about. So
I appreciate it.
so that's great. And
Yeah, if I can just say one more thing. The Don't Look Back video that you saw, obviously it's a mixture of us playing live,
yeah, yeah.
before COVID, and some of the studio work. This video we're putting out is a real kind of deep meaning song. It was written over COVID, and it's written about mental health and people who struggle with mental health issues.
Yeah.
This song's got a lot of meaning to it to us.
So how would you describe overall sound of the band? I mean, would you say kind of like Van Halen in the sense that they do pop stuff, they do hard rock, they do a little bit of everything, and might get a ballad or something on the album?
I say our band's a power rock band.
There you go. Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're not a heavy metal band.
No, but yeah, a little bit
We're
of
a hard
everything.
rock. We're a hard power rock band.
Maybe
That's
even like one of those bands that you say there's something for everybody, you know?
There is something for but like in today's world, I mean, AC/DC is a power rock band. I mean, they
Yeah.
used to be heavy metal. They're just a rock band.
I mean, AC/DC, I think they're really the only band that kind of get away with all the songs kind of sound the same 3-chord pattern. Interesting thing though, people will tell you, I talk to many musicians, they tell me people think AC/DC is just kind of simple 3-chord pattern music, very difficult though to play.
Listen, it's worked for what, 30, 40, 50 years?
Work for them,
You
yeah,
know what?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, I'd say if I had to say anything, we're a power rock band.
Yeah. And so I didn't mean to cut you off, but you were saying about
No,
your
no, no.
latest
Yeah,
single.
so the single's about mental health issues, and it's people who struggle with it. Could be PTSD, it could be kids that are bullied, it could be suicidal thoughts, it could be anything that is mental health issues, and I'm sure I'm missing some things. And the song really is about, listen, when you're in your deepest moment, and usually, and I'm not that up with
Yeah.
it, but usually people think there's only one resort to get out of it, which
Yeah, yeah.
which is usually suicide.
Well,
Where the song is about, that's not the last resort. The last resort is maybe to reach out to somebody who would be there to help you, and then you have a friend, and here I am as a friend, and that's what the song's about. We're really proud of this tune.
and let me ask you, is this just kind of a general idea on the state of the world, or um, was this based on somebody in the band knew somebody that was struggling with mental illness?
Um, that's a good question. I can't answer 100% because I
Got
don't
you.
do the
Okay.
writing, but I will tell you some of this writing and some of the songs were written over COVID. So we have a song on the album called Bury Me, but the actual title is Bury Me Up to My Eyes, which was written, Bubba wrote it about now with COVID, viewing life through a mask, because that's what everybody was wearing masks. So so some of it's based on that, and some of it's based on everybody was isolated,
Yeah, sure.
and everybody was going through, some sort of withdrawal, because
Sure.
we're used to going out and
I mean, that's the first time in any of our lives where we found out the government can really control what you do. I mean, I never thought until then that you could stop me from going to work, or just because the government said so, or you get thrown in jail because I mean, they were locking restaurants up for staying open for
people in
business.
there.
Yeah.
And so, and people in general, people like to congregate and be with other people. So I can't answer if this was a chord that was struck, but I think it was generally more of watching the news and watching people struggle, and kids were struggling, not able to go to school with their friends. I mean, I think it was a culmination of all that.
I think you guys chose a great topic, because I'll tell you, I mean, even you look at somebody like Robin Williams or even Mike Howe from Metal Church. Um,
Absolutely.
People that suffered with depression for years, I guess, and or whatever they were going through, like especially Robin Williams, he made a living telling jokes and making other people laugh. Who had any clue? I mean, you never would have thought that his wife would find him hung from a ceiling fan,
It's
but
awful.
it's
Awful.
awful. And
And
so
it goes to show you money can't help you out of that.
yeah.
What I mean?
And even like Mike Howell's a great example too, because the guys in the band said we had no idea he was going through whatever. He seemed like the happiest guy on
Right.
earth. Yeah.
And maybe that's what the song's about. Maybe if you'd reached out to a friend, and
That's
just
what I'm
say,
gonna say. We'll close with this: is your song may help somebody that way. That
we hope so. We really do. And that's the point. I mean, it's a really powerful song. We're very excited about it. I mean, we're very excited about all of our songs, but this one had a little more meaning than anything else. And so the video, I don't want to give it away. So for anybody who's listening, wants tomorrow on Deco Entertainment site is where it's going to be. I don't
great
know
way to kick off the weekend, right? Hey.
Yeah, I know, but but hopefully it'll teach somebody. Hey, look, man, I always, I try to explain to like my daughter as well. It's like you never know what somebody else is going through, so just be
Don't be
polite.
so quick to judge, right?
Be good and be polite. Yeah. So
Sammy, I promise to have you back. This will be going up about another week. I'll let you know. Thanks for doing this. Take care, my friend.
I appreciate it. Sorry for tailing off. Thank you.
Hey, we're just about to get cut off, so I better let you go, but take care, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Take care, Jason. Good seeing you.
Bye-bye.